Are you seriously going to eat, you fat blibbity blabbity blob? I mean, it's something you might be like,
continual.
why would I want to start this?
Sensitive. She's so sensitive.
You are listening to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast, where we share stories that are, you guessed it, unscripted.
That's the thing, this journey doesn't stop.
It doesn't really. Right? We have a general sense of the topic each episode, but really the whole point is just to show up and be authentic and let our inner child speak its truth. And I have continued to work through that story of constantly hearing, well, we don't want, got a hot dog on our hands. Yeah, guess what, Mr. Savatsky, you do. So I'm so excited that you are here, and it is my hope that you hear yourself somewhere in the story so that way you can feel seen and heard as well. So let's start talking. Welcome back. I am so pumped that you guys came back after episode 1, where you got to hear a little bit more about my story and why I'm here. But today, I am thrilled to be able to introduce my very first guest. And there's a reason that I chose her to be my very first guest, because honestly, I would not be here doing this podcast if it weren't for this woman. So I met my dear friend Zoe back in 2021 when I was at my lowest, darkest point. I had no idea what I was going through. I knew I was going through something, and it was really lonely and scary, and I was lost. So lost that I ended up out in Colorado. There's a whole story to that. We'll get to that. But that's where I met Zoe, and it felt like the universe was basically saying, hey, girl, I know you're going to go through some really hard, dark days coming up, years actually, but don't worry. We're going to send you someone, and her name is Zoe, and she is going to help you get through these really hard, dark days to help you find who you truly are. And that's exactly what she did for me. And so I know not everybody has a Zoe in their life like I did. And so being able to invite her on as a guest, not just today, hopefully for more, that you get to have a little Zoe in your life too. Because she truly, just her presence and her energy is healing alone, and I feel like can help heal so many hearts out there. So welcome, Zoe. How are you?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for that lovely intro. I feel I was getting a little choked up.
Yeah, it's true, though.
It's been a journey, my friend.
It has been a journey. Well, before we hop into the whole story, tell me a little bit about what you've been up to and why we haven't seen each other on camera in over a week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
2024 has I don't know what happened, but there's been a huge shift energetically and everything. I don't know. I feel like so many things have happened and just everything is just kind of snowballing in the most beautiful way. However, yeah, now both of us, I feel like have both kind of things are just like moving forward really fast. And there's so much happening that we've been kind of a little bit not sidetracked, but focused on what's happening in our lives right now. So there hasn't been as much.
Yeah, it's no exaggeration that Zoe and I pretty much message each other every single day. Mostly it's memes and gifs and things like that. But it's funny because we have said, I need Zoe in my life. I just need my Zoe fix this week and then I'm good to go. Right. And, and sometimes we would kind of be hard on ourselves about how long we would talk, but then we realized this is actually part of the work that we do, and just being able to have conversations, because they're really clearing conversations and help us just, I don't know, when you just talk about what's going on in your life and you have that safe space to do it, it allows you to just release so much energy around it. And then I think we feel like after these conversations, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I can actually do my work now. Whereas before we were facing this huge block, but just staring at the computer. And so now I think we have realized how important our conversations are in order to clear the blocks so we can do the things. So here we are having another conversation.
Yeah, it does a few things for us, right? It helps us clear our energy, but also raises our vibration. So then you do have this kind of clear conduit to be able to move forward, and you're not working at a low vibration, or, it brings us back up. And Yeah, it's definitely a must in my life. I can't live without it anymore. So you're stuck with me. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate that you live in another country. So
That's just a problem. We made it work so
we made
far.
it work. We made it this far. Well, let's go there and let's share with everybody how we met because it's kind of a funny little story, but give us a little background of your life leading up to when we met.
Oh boy. Yeah, that was a really dark time for me as well. I was going through a big transition. I'm a am a or was a kinesiologist, and was working in a very therapeutic environment. I got really sick, couldn't do my job anymore. Rugs in all the rugs got pulled out of under me. I didn't really know what was happening, but I was coming into my gifts, and that was kind of the point where I was coming into that realization that I had these gifts, always had them. I was just kind of tuning back into them. And which is why I ended up in Colorado. It was just all the synchronicities kind of led me there. Um, in order to, I think it was to help me step into that gift. And then, of course, uh, bring you into my life, which was kind of like this little guiding light as well. So that was kind of how I ended up in Colorado as well. Um,
Yeah, it's funny because people ask me that all the time, like, how did you get into, some of this more energy stuff? And we'll talk about that because I know we've been throwing out lots of terms like vibrations and things like that. People are like,
right.
what podcast did I just sign up for? Hold on, hold on. But yeah, how I got out to Colorado was also very interesting and part of, I think, the work that we do or the message that we want to get out there is just helping people tap back into their intuition. Because if we wouldn't have listened to our intuition, we would have never found our way there. And intuition can look like a lot of different things. It can sound like a lot of different things. And for me, it was, on YouTube one night, trying to numb myself, basically, right? Go into the whole like freeze mode, just checking out of my own life. So I'm on YouTube and I'm scrolling. I should be in bed. And this video pops up. And it's some dude I've never seen before. And it was like, are you an empath? I'm like, what is an empath? I don't even know what that is. But as I'm listening to him, like, I absolutely am an empath. Like, oh my gosh, this guy just described me to a T. Like, how does he know me? And, so then I'm watching this whole stupid ad, which I never do. And I get to the end, all of a sudden I had signed up for some webinar. Like, what just happened? Okay, whatever. So all of his emails start going into my email and I'm doing these massive deletes, and it's probably like weeks, maybe even months that have gone by that I actually signed up for this thing. And then all of a sudden I'm doing this mass delete in my email and this one email stands out to me. And I don't even remember what it said. For some reason, I just thought like, you should click on that. And so I'm like, all right. So I clicked on it and then pretty soon I'm reading again. And usually like, I don't have time for that kind of stuff in my email. Like I'm not stopping and reading random stuff. I'm just not. And so click on this, watching more videos. Next thing I know, I'd signed up for some like interview. I don't even know what it was. I was like, oh, I guess I'm talking to someone on Thursday at 4. So I have this conversation about, what this retreat is all about. I had never really done anything like that, but something was just telling me like, you need to be here. You need to be at this place. It was interesting because typically my whole worthiness thing would come up. I'm like, how am I going to pay for this? And like, I don't want to have to talk about money. I mean, that's a whole other episode. But I had recently won this Ice of Body finalist contest and they had, when you became a finalist, you got like $3,000. Well, interestingly enough, that was pretty close to the price of this retreat. And I was like, that's what I'm using that money for. Like, okay, cool. So wasn't carrying around the guilt and shame about that, which I shouldn't have anyway, but I certainly was knee deep in that back then. So I signed up to go to Colorado. And it was funny because they had this Facebook group for everybody that was going. And they had asked, well, first I had asked, does anyone plan on like working out when we're here? Like, I have no idea where this place is. We're in the middle of nowhere. And someone just said they were going to bring their ceremonial drums. And I was like, that's not quite what I had in mind for working out. But well, then fast forward, they bring out the drums and my like middle school self is living her best life. So It was amazing. But backing up a little bit, so I don't know if I had posted it or you did someone about like, hey, I'm going in a night early. Does anyone want to share a hotel? And I think it was you that commented, like, hey, I'm flying in a night early too. So we're like, oh, great. Well, neither one of us thought to actually look up this person, like check out their Facebook profile or something to see if they didn't have some weird history or that they're, yeah, who knows what. We're just totally trusting that I'm going to share a hotel room with this woman I have never met. I don't know anything about her, but we're going to go with it and we're just going to trust. And so we didn't meet or really even have a conversation until we got to the airport.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
true. We had we literally met at the airport, and that was the first like, hey.
Yeah. Hey, how are you? This is going to get weird, isn't it? Okay. And it's so funny because as we went to bed that night, the last thing I said to her, I'm like, thanks for not being a serial killer. And honestly, it's like we've been inseparable best friends ever since. So
Person that, yeah, it's so funny. It was just we were definitely connected from the very beginning.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can just like see the universe like, oh my gosh, like they finally met, they got along, like, and it's going perfectly. So about this retreat, because Zoe had mentioned earlier about these gifts. And though some of you may be wondering, like, what the heck gifts is she talking about? I truly believe that everybody was born with some sort of gift. I mean, you see it all the time in these kids that are like amazing singers and dancers at age 3 or 5. You know, they can play the piano like they were Mozart themselves at age 4. It's stuff like that where their gifts, they found them pretty quick, right? They didn't have to do a lot of unwrapping to find their God-given talents. Some of us have to go through a little tougher journey. That package, that gift is wrapped up in a lot of layers of pain. A painful package, but there's a gift inside. And some people never decide to unwrap their gift. And I think we see that in our people that are around us all the time. And that's okay. Maybe they weren't meant to in this lifetime. You know, there's no judgment there. Some people know they have a gift, but because their childhood wounds are maybe getting in the way, they don't feel worthy of actually pursuing the thing. They know they are an incredible artist, but hey, that doesn't pay the bills. So, you know, things like that. So when we're talking about gifts, you know, it's what we came here to do. You know, what was our true purpose? What are the gifts that we all have? And everybody's are so different. I don't think anyone's gift is truly the same. And so even like doing this podcast, like there's a million other people doing podcasts out there. So what makes me think that mine is going to do anything or people are going to listen to it at all? It's like, well, no one's me. So, and I have to believe that and go with that and that I'm here for a reason and that there's going to be someone out here that hopefully I can speak to and resonate with. So talk a little bit more about some of the gifts that you have found. And really, like you said, knew you always had, but they got put in a box.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it as a small child. I always had this ability. You know, what was considered a big imagination, you know. I would, you know, I could see energy and feel energy. And so it's, you know, what people call intuitive, um, an intuitive gift, also known as psychic, if you want to freak people out
Oh, getting
completely.
weird here now. Don't get too woo-woo on me, Zoe. Just kidding.
But I always had that ability to see and feel energy. You know, I often knew things would happen before they'd happen, different things like that. And I honestly really believed as a small child that I had this ability to heal people. Um, but that was really silenced growing up. No, you don't see those things. Those aren't real. That's all in your mind. And I was considered, you know, sucky because I would cry easily. You know, I felt everybody's pain. My brothers would get in trouble. I was a wreck because I could feel theirs, you know, and so I was considered, you know, I really, really was considered
So sensitive. Oh.
sensitive. She's so sensitive. She's always crying. She's such a baby. That was my thing. And so that, over time really silenced me because, it was considered a weakness and not a gift at all because that made you weak. And
Ooh, it just gave me goosebumps.
yeah, yeah, I know. I was just getting the whew. Um, so so over time, you stop listening to that. And when you stop listening to that, you also start shutting down the intuition, like the things that tell you, oh, watch out or be careful, or
Yes.
because you've shut it all down. And so that got silenced over time. And the more things that would happen that were maybe not so great would shut me down even more until I hit a point where the universe was like, excuse me, this is not your path. You are, yeah, this is not where you're meant to be. And that's when, I started getting like really sick with my body. My body was, it was repressed emotions. It was all the things. But it was like the universe was like, no, we're not having this anymore. You have a gift you need to share. And so that's kind of the gift now, if I shall elaborate on that, is it is the gift of healing,
Yeah.
in physical touch, as well as like within people's energies, and just helping people, give them clarity and whatnot. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's the gift that I have really stepped into, um, over time, is just that literally the gift of healing using my intuitiveness.
Yeah. I love your story so much, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to highlight there. And we've talked so many times about this, and I'm sure we'll plan some more episodes around this about helping our kids know what intuition is and to be able to listen to that and to really foster those things. And instead of silencing them when we don't understand what's going on with them, maybe if they are seeing things or they feel things or they are more emotional, rather than try to shut it down because it makes you uncomfortable, that's your projection, is get curious with them about why. What are you seeing? What do you think about that? How are you feeling? Like those can be such beautiful ways to not shut down our kiddos because there are a lot of sensitive kiddos out there. And I think they, for a reason, they are trying to like wake us up to stop living in these little boxes. And these little people are here to do that. And they kind of like force you to do that. But you had talked too about getting sick. And when you say like getting sick, I mean, people can be like, okay, yeah, she got sick. Like, no, share a little bit more about that because to me, this is also, I know it's getting out there more and more about what happens to our physical body when we suppress emotions, because I am a true believer that what is happening physically is just a manifestation of everything that's going on inside that we're not willing to deal with. It's like your body becomes the punching bag for the emotions that you aren't willing to feel. And at some point, because we're not listening to our inner intuition, we're not listening to our inner child, so they're like, I don't know what else to do. I'm sending all of these signs and signals and trying to make them feel something, but they won't feel anything. So wait, maybe let's bring in the big guns. Let's call in their body because they'll listen when it's like a physical thing. They'll go to the doctor when it's a physical thing, but then it's like, oh, they missed the point. It wasn't just about the physical thing. There's deeper stuff, and so many of us are missing the deeper stuff. And so you got a really loud wake-up call when it came to that, in terms of what your body was basically screaming at you.
My body was literally screaming. I suffered with a lot of autoimmune disorders. But then it just got tenfold where, I did a lot of manual therapy, working with people's physical bodies. So I used my hands a lot. I got to the point where every joint in my body was so painful. I wore braces on every single joint of my body. It felt like my hands, like my wrists were broken. I would tape them up, brace them just so I could work on people. So my body was literally like shutting down on me. And then, with investigation, I was diagnosed with a super rare autoimmune disorder. And my mind, my brain wasn't functioning. I couldn't remember things. I sounded drunk when I talked. My sentences were scrambled. Like it could not be ignored. Um, and I got to that point where I couldn't work anymore. I was having a hard time taking care of my kids. I couldn't cook without burning things. It was really scary. And I remember lying in bed one night going, this can't be my life.
Right.
You know, I've spent my whole life being healthy and eating right and exercising. This cannot be my life. Like, God, please, like,
Yeah. Oof.
like show me something. And this is when, you know, the next day little things started popping up, little synchronicities, and I paid attention to those signs, but I literally just like went, okay, God, there's got to be more to this. This is not, I am not meant to, you know, be bed bound until I die.
Yeah.
You know, that was not my life. And so that's when, and so when we talked about, you know, getting sick, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
is my body literally shut down on me and was like, you're going to pay attention. And that was twofold. I had a lot of repressed emotions, things that I hadn't dealt with. You know, I hadn't taken the time to heal, which was pushing me to do that as well. It all kind of came at the same time, you know, me being an empath and picking up people's energies. That was also making me sick, you know, me not stepping into my power. I was like this meek little sheep and would just do whatever, you know, whatever was good for everybody. So it was there's so many dimensions to it. Um, but that's what I meant by my body shutting down. So when something like that happens, you have to sit there and go, okay, well, what is really going on,
Yeah.
and start paying attention. Yeah. So that's what I meant by that.
Yeah. I was like, we're not just gonna slide by. That's kind of a bigger deal than we let on here.
Mhm.
Oh, but yeah, what's so important though is you didn't see it as just a bunch of physical symptoms happening. Because really, when I hear that story, to me, it sounds like, hey, I've been taking care of everyone else my entire life. And even though you were wearing braces just to get through your day and do your work, again, as your inner child over here, like, yo, are you going to take care of me anytime soon? Okay, this is great. Let's just keep bandaging up and wearing all these things so we can take care of everybody else.
Yeah,
But not
exactly.
little old me, not worthy of that. And so that's where, sometimes we don't realize that these things happen for us. So, yes, getting sick can feel like this awful thing that is happening to you, and sometimes it doesn't seem fair. But oftentimes it is your body, your inner child crying out for help. And they're like, I'm sorry, I tried everything else, but you weren't listening. You weren't allowing yourself to feel anything. So this is the only way I could get your attention, for you to just pause, to evaluate your life. Is this working for me? Is this the way I want to keep showing up every day? Is this what I want to be doing with my career? When you're faced with that, shit gets real.
It does real fast. Yeah. I was so disconnected to the point where somebody said, okay, well, what do you like to do? What do you do for joy? And I'm like, what? What does
Yeah.
that mean even,
What?
you know? And I was
Please define joy.
like, I don't know. I was so
Yeah,
disconnected. I didn't even know
for
what brought
real.
me joy anymore.
Yeah.
I literally had to like find my way back to that. And that was
Mm,
those were the cookie crumbs. Like, oh yeah, I love being outside. And when I do dishes, I
yes.
just wish I could be outside. I'm like, oh, that was a little hint. So then I
Yeah.
would start going outside, you know, and it was like baby steps,
Yeah.
you know.
And
Yeah.
that, yeah, it was very much the same for me. I remember those times when, like, alone, and it was terrifying. Like, the
Oh,
thought of just having the house to myself, like, I don't even know what to do with myself. I honestly had no idea what to do with myself. Because again, me too, I had no idea what brought me joy anymore. I had no idea what my own interests and hobbies were, because I had become a mom and I was doing all these other things. And nowhere in that mix was I getting to know me, because I was like wearing all these masks all the time for everyone else. And it took having, again, like the universe to just shake me like, stop this. Like, what are you doing? But then that was scary
Oh,
because
yeah.
like, okay, well then it's like you open this box. I'm like, I don't want to see it. Nope. Didn't see what was in there. Nope. They're like, no, you saw.
It's
You can't ignore it. You saw what's in there. I'm like, nope, didn't. And I tried to unsee it for a long, long time. But again, then that's the same thing where things start happening and you just can't ignore it anymore.
yeah.
Yeah. And following that intuition. But it's so cool how it starts to happen in that positive way for you as well. Like you said, I had a random conversation in the sauna and someone asked me, like, hey, do you like to hike? And I was like, yeah, I actually love to hike, but I don't remember the last time I've gone hiking.
Yeah.
I had no idea last time I had just gone out into the woods or something like that. And I grew up kind of out in the country, but living in a city, like I'd go for walks and stuff like that, but I wasn't like immersing myself into nature. And that one question, like, hey, do you like to hike? I sat with that. I was like, whoa, something about that was, and again, now I know my inner child was like, she does, she does, she does. We really, really do. But hey, you need to tell her that she needs to get her ass out there because she hasn't done it in years. And so that actually very same morning, I was celebrating an anniversary of a program that I had run. It was like the 1 year anniversary. And I wanted to really honor that because that was such a huge step in, my career, but also the growth it took from me to be able to get to that point. So I wanted to celebrate this 1 year anniversary in a really special way. And so after that conversation in the sauna that morning, I looked up places to go hiking and I drove out 30 minutes out of the city and found this beautiful bluff. And oh my goodness, the view from up there was everything. And it was in that moment where I said, like, I need to be outside every single day. I knew in that moment, I need this. Not just because I like being outside, I need to be outside every day. Like my soul needs to be out here. And I didn't realize then, not knowing enough about energy or any of that kind of stuff at that point, of how healing just being outside is, or how clearing it is. I mean, we all know, but here's the thing. And this is when you people, not you people, sorry,
Just people in general. Yeah.
just, just you judgy people.
Oh boy.
Anyway, no, but people that are like, don't maybe understand energy or, might think it's woo woo or
Mhm.
whatever. And I understand it. I was that way too. But you all know that it feels good when the sun is out. You feel better when you get outside and get fresh air. You know that. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But if you want to take it down, to some deeper levels of why, there's lots of reasons why. But truly it is because it does just naturally help clear your energy. And when we are a society of people that aren't practicing any sort of energetic hygiene, it's like those things happen and you kind of notice them, but you don't really understand why. And then therefore you're not trying to do it maybe as consistently. Some people do and they're like, wow, this feels really good. I got to get outside and go for a run today.
Mhm.
But sometimes like it's like, gosh, I haven't been outside, especially, when COVID hit and all that stuff, like,
Yeah.
like trapped inside and like, oh, that energy got heavy because we weren't clearing it.
Did it ever?
Yeah. Yeah. But I love your story and how much of it happened for you. And I think part of why, we've connected so much is because we see now that all of these painful experiences, I mean, again, going all the way back into our childhood, every part of it was part of the purpose to be here, doing what we're doing, to be able to relate to people. But you have to do the work yourself. I could go to school all day long and learn these things out of a book, but until you go through your own healing journey, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, there's nothing out of a textbook
Oh,
that could have prepared me for the journey that I've been on these last few years. Nothing.
yeah.
But it's funny because it is almost textbook. Like when you kind of look at the
Right.
stages of a healing journey, it's like,
Oh,
oh yeah, there was
100%.
stage 1. That was 2022. But at the same time, there's nothing scripted about your healing journey. But at the same time, it is all like divinely planned for you, right? And we kind of understand that now.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the work you specifically do, and I know you've got some amazing stories. So if there's something that pops out, I'd love for you to share.
I guess, I still struggle with kind of
Yeah.
explaining or describing because it's so it, magical, if I could say.
It
Of
truly is. Like you can say that. And it's one
and
of these things I'm just going to prep everybody. Like it's
yeah,
so hard to understand the work that she does unless you've experienced it yourself. And so just encouraging you to be like totally open-minded because she's right. The work that she does is absolutely magical. And I know any of her clients would come and be like 100% this woman is magical. So you can fairy dust and unicorn whatever you want. Go for it.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's the thing, right? Everybody has, it's hard to articulate what necessarily happens, but I guess in a nutshell, what I do is I help clear people's energy. So, as we go through days and life, we collect stuff. Every time we meet somebody, every time we have an interaction or something heavy happens, we collect all this energy and we store it within ourselves. Any trauma we've been through, we kind of store it within our bodies. And if we don't release that or clear it, it just starts piling up and slowly making us sick or causing ailments, illnesses, different things, uh, impedes our judgment. So basically what I do is I help clear that energy, and I guess rebalance it. But when I'm doing that, I get, because I see energy and I feel energy, um, I can see where it's rooted, how long it's been there, where it's being stored in the body, which then gives us lots of information on how to clear it, how, maybe giving you some guidance. So overall, I basically clear people's energies, which is ends up being very healing in some forms with when people are suffering with ailments or illnesses,
Yeah.
can ultimately heal their physical body, which is a lot what I did for myself because when I was going through that sickness, um, within 3 months, I had healed my own body
It's
through
amazing.
energy healing, different things. But overall, what I do is clear energy and heal energy. And I don't know how deep you want me to go into this. I guess shit gets weird in here. Um,
It's incredible some of the stories that you've shared because again, when we think about there's daily things that we can do to clear our energy. But when
mm,
you're getting to the depths of some of these deeper issues, I mean, and some of the stuff, whether you believe it or not, can be like generational trauma. And I had that
absolutely.
awareness this last year when I was like really looking at my story. Like parts of my childhood are pretty lame. Like I didn't get in a lot of trouble on this kind of stuff. And I was like, why do I carry this insurmountable amount of guilt and shame? Like it does not match my story at all. And then it kind of hit me like, oh, this isn't mine. Oh,
Yeah,
this isn't freaking
yeah,
mine. Help
exactly.
me release this. I
Yeah.
don't want to carry this around anymore.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, and that's part of it. Like, not only are we clearing from this lifetime, sometimes it's generational, sometimes it's past lives. I had a lady come in the other day, and it was like she was carrying karmic ties from not just her own, but all these people she had collected, and in this lifetime, she chose that she was going to carry all of that and she's going to clear it in this lifetime. Well, this woman has been through the ringer in this whole world and she showed up here and she's like, I don't know what to do. Like she was like, she like was at the point where like, I can't take
Yeah.
anymore. Like
Yeah.
I've been through the ringer and some, you know? And so that's kind of what, oh, it was wild. Like going deep into that and clearing some of that and helping her, and she left here like she came in like she was vibrating, she was like having all kinds of anxiety. She left like completely calm. Her friend saw her and said what happened, because she had never seen her so calm and like light, and it was mind-blowing. So you could see that
Right.
physical transformation after we cleared stuff. I mean, it wasn't a one and done, but like what we cleared in that moment, like, gave her some, like, "Okay, I can keep moving," but also gave her some
Yeah.
understanding and validation,
Yes.
like, "I'm not going
Right.
crazy,"
Right.
right? So, yeah, it's
It's
I don't
next
know.
level. It's what it is. And you're
It
amazing.
is. You're right,
Well, and I
yeah.
think part of why I got into the energy work and stuff, and really that was kind of what led me to inner child work. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, oh, this is the root of all of my issues. Shoot. Well, and again, I kind of mentioned this, on the first episode that I had the quote pretty good childhood. So when I would hear about childhood trauma and stuff like that didn't connect with me. That didn't resonate with me. So I never looked into my story. And then I saw something, I think it was on Instagram, and it said, not remembering your childhood is a form of trauma. And I was like, what?
Mic drop.
What? And my inner child was like, did you see that? I was like, yeah, yeah. And that sent me on this quest. It was like, because I mean, one, I did fall down the hay chute in third grade and cracked my head open. So I had told myself this story that maybe I just had a really crappy memory from that. But I would hear my sisters talk and friends talk about, you know, certain events and like specific conversations. And I had no recollection of these things. Zero. If it wasn't in my picture book, I didn't have a memory of it. And so I think now like people give me so much crap because I take pictures and videos of everything. But I think there's a part of me that's like, I want to remember it though, because I don't remember. Right. And so make fun of me all you want, but I'm treasuring these memories because I don't want to lose them because I don't remember stuff from my childhood. Ugh.
Uh,
But that really sent me on this quest of like, there's something you're supposed to unpack here. And I think where the energy stuff came into play was starting to understand, like our energy centers. And when you start to look at people's childhood stories, when you grew up walking on eggshells, or, maybe you didn't know if your family had enough money to get groceries that week or stuff like that causes a real feeling of scarcity and instability. And that can block up that first energy center, like right out of the get go, and then we're getting into like your body and your emotions. Well, we're being told as babies, like, cry it out or suck it up, you're fine. So already, you can see like how this stuff can just get so bogged down so early on in our life, and then we're closing our hearts off because, a friend made fun of us or we got bullied or, maybe mom and dad weren't able to express their emotions to us. And so we have blocked our heart. Now we can't speak our truth. And now it's just so it's so
yeah.
cool to be able to kind of come at inner child work with this different angle as well, and just to help remove some of the energy around the trauma, because I think people feel like if they're going to heal their childhood wounds, they need to relive their trauma, and that's actually
Oh my
not the
god.
case. Like
Yeah.
it ends up being such a beautiful journey and a healing journey that's full of forgiveness and joy, but very rarely do I feel like people feel like they're reliving it.
Right, yeah, and you don't need to dissect it in that way, like, you don't need to every little detail, you know? I think just the awareness of it and understanding of what happened and how it's affected you, and then the, uh, want or, being willing to let go and release, and, that's where the power is, So, you don't and I tell this to my clients all the time, you don't need to dissect it, and I thought that too because I had so many repressed memories, and I thought, "Oh, I need to know
Right.
every little detail." I don't wanna go there though,
Yeah.
right? And that was what I learned is I don't need to know all the dirty details. I know what happened. I just need to be willing to understand how it's affected me, how
Mhm.
it's, how it is affecting
Right.
me, and whether I'm ready to heal that part of me and willing to let go and
Yeah.
release and forgive.
Well, and I love that you pointed
Yeah.
out the is affecting me because I think so many
It
people
right. Yeah. Yeah.
don't
It's
recognize that what they're going on in their current life, why they're feeling triggered, why they get mad so easily, or why they, feel like they need to withdraw, like all of these things. It's seriously, I can't not think or see anything that isn't somehow related to inner child stuff. It's everywhere. It's in everything. It's the way that we think and we act and react and it so much of it, like it's difficult, but yet it's so simple because it's truly just giving ourselves what we've always needed. But when you have spent a lifetime probably taking care of other people and all of these things, taking care of yourself can be really triggering. And again, that's a whole other episode. So, but this has been amazing. And I can't wait to do like a million more of these episodes with you because I know we have 8,000 topics to talk about. But let's leave the listeners with some form of like little Zoe tip or like energetic hygiene. Like what could they do just on a daily to help clear their energy? But then also how can they find you and work with your magic?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I find just in general is clearing, protecting, and grounding your energy. This changes your life, especially if you are spiraling or you're like drowning or whatever, but even not. So clearing your energy, and you can do that by going outside, just and asking universe or mother nature or whatever your source is to just clear all negative energy from you. That's the biggest and easiest way to do it. Movement is also, and then I like to protect my energy. If you're empathic, if you're
you're like
sensitive,
protecting them over here.
I know, protecting. Yeah, whatever that shield looks like, I would put a shield around me. Tammy
I punches
probably
it. I
has
will punch it.
like he punches. Putting a shield around you to protect it. So
Yeah.
like, when you're going to the grocery store and those angry people are walking in, they aren't affecting you, So shielding your energy, protecting your energy, putting a bubble around you, however, and then really grounding yourself. So feet on earth or envisioning roots coming out of I know this is getting a little woo-woo, but who cares? It works.
Yeah.
Envisioning roots coming out of your feet and wrapping around the core of the earth, like all that stuff is just really, really powerful. But you can get all that just by going outside. So
it's funny.
going out.
I'm glad you brought this up
Go ahead.
because my old programming told me that, well, if I'm going to go outside, I have to not walk, I have to run. Like I wouldn't even allow
Oh,
myself to just walk leisurely because it felt like I was being lazy. Like people are going to look and be like, why is this woman just walking? Why isn't she running? She should obviously be running. So I had to work through
obvious.
that just to allow myself to go on a daily walk. But then I had to remove all of the rules that I was putting around it that it needed to be 30 minutes for it to count. Like, no, you just literally need to get outside. And I ended up doing that. It was like outside every day. And I did it for a solid year. 365 days was, probably life-saving, honestly. Like it was, I needed to do that.
Yeah.
And it absolutely
Yeah.
helped me clear some really heavy energy at that time. And so that's simple. Just get outside. Just open your front door and get outside. Just take a big breath. It's as simple as that.
Yes. Yeah. That is the easiest way. Get outside, hug a tree, whatever, walk slowly, lie on the ground. I used to starfish,
Heck yeah.
lie on the ground like a starfish and just
Yes.
just
Tap
lie.
into your inner child and get outside. All right.
Yeah.
So how can they
Yeah.
find you, Zoe?
You could find me at zoesoleil.ca. So that's ZOESOLEIL.ca. That is my website. That would be the easiest way to find me, but you can also find me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm not super
Social media savvy. She's
social
really
media
good at
savvy.
it, but she's operating her gifts. She's like, this is where I want to spend my time is actually doing the healing work. So, but yes, and you do in person, but also some virtual stuff too, right?
Which are equally as powerful.
Yeah. Awesome. Yay. Well, I cannot wait to have you back. You know, I love you dearly, and I'll probably be messaging you about a million times later today. So,
Of course.
all right. Thank you so much, friend, truly for this. Again, it's such a beautiful full circle moment to both of our journeys to be able to be here and talk about it and hopefully help inspire others to tap back into their intuition, step into their gifts, and just take care of themselves energetically and their inner child. child. So thank you so much for listening to Zoe and I today, and we cannot wait to see you back for the next episode.
Tami Talks Unscripted Healing is produced by Mortarbox Media. Video, audio, and editing by me, Duke Adams. To learn how we can bring your podcast idea to life, or how we can make your current show even better, visit mortarboxmedia.com.